Okay, hi, I think we're rolling. Psych of Aging, hello there. Well, I'm your professor, Dr. McConnell, Daniel McConnell. Um, what I'm going to do here, I like to make these videos for my online classes to serve as something of a virtual syllabus day, I guess. So I'm going to go through the syllabus as part of this video. Not going to read the whole thing, but we're going to kind of hit the high points, I guess, cover some important things that we need to make sure are important. Also, give a little guided tour around what's going on here in web courses, which is mostly, as you can see, I've clicked on the home page here. Actually, might be better if I click view as student. I think it's going to look the same either way, but probably a good idea. Um, but this defaults to the modules here. So right off the bat, you can see there's a bunch of things in the to-do list already. First and maybe most important for getting started is the week one academic activity, which is really just a simple little true false question. It's going to say, I am here, and you're going to say, true, I am here. Um, and that's it, right? There's nothing else. So that's for now. That's just a free 2 points. Obviously, the point of these things is that the registrar really wants to see that you're actually here, and there's a record of your activity in the Canvas gradebook for the course. So that's what that's going to be. So it's worth two extra credit points. Um, if I need to adjust that a little bit at the end of the semester, I might make it worth more, but for now, it's at least the 2 points. The rest of this you can see is the Unit 1 module, and then there are other modules. But before I talk about what's in these and what this is all about, let's go into the syllabus. And that way I can explain what the course is about, what the course assignments are, and then you can come back and maybe understand better what the modules mean then. All right, so let's go through this here. I'm going to put my glasses back on so I can actually read this correctly. Um, as I said, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's, cover some important things that we want to make sure we're all clear about here. There I am. Um, First off, then, is office hours. So Tuesday and Wednesday is what I have listed here. So Tuesday, 12:30 to 2:30 p.m., and then Wednesday in the morning, 10:30 a.m. up to 12:30 p.m. I do expect that on these days I will be in my office for these, and that is here PSY 356. But we're an online class, so I will have the Zoom open during this time as well. If I happen to be working from home during one of those times, then I'll still have the Zoom open. I just won't be in my office. But I would anticipate that 95% of the days of the semester I will be in my office during these. And I mention that because um, in case you actually want to come in person instead of hopping on the Zoom, then you can do that. Um, so as I note here, these are open hours, so you don't need to make an appointment. Just hop on during these times. I'll have the Zoom open, and and you just click the link and sign in, and I will be hopefully sitting here at my desk waiting for somebody to pop onto the Zoom during that time. Now, if these hours don't work for you, we can also find time. I have, plenty of extra time, I imagine. So if you need an accommodation there, we can set up some other time by appointment. I need to update once all of the TA stuff has been settled, so stay tuned for that. Um, Got course description and learning outcomes. This is stuff you can read on your own. Here we have um, the course material. The book is called The Psychology of Aging, A Concise Exploration by Sarah Margolin, Sage Publisher. You can get that in the course materials link here. That is there. Yeah, that is there. Um, Sorry, I got my microphone sitting in front of, or not my microphone, my camera sitting in front of the screen. Uh, anyway, so if you opt in to the first day program, you can just click that link to get access to the book and opt in using that link. If you don't want to opt in and you want to maybe access it a different way, I'm sure there's a way of purchasing a physical print edition of the book somewhere. I don't know if that's more cost effective or not. Let's see, we got the grading scale here, simple 90, 80, 70, 60 breakdown, no pluses and minuses. But I do round up, which is noted in this further section down below here. So that way, an 89.5 really is the lowest A grade. And likewise, a 79.5 is the lowest B grade. What goes into your grade calculation is listed right here. So we will have three exams. Those are worth 100 points each. So there's 300 points coming from the exams. There's going to be 11 quizzes, but we drop one, so that means 10 quizzes times 20 points each. So we drop the lowest one score. But if you get a 20 out of 20, maybe on each one of them, then just one of them gets dropped. So that's another 200 points, 20 points per 10 quizzes there. We have some video discussions. You're going to watch a video and reply to the prompt about that video here. There are 7 of those. Those are also 20 points each, and that's 140. Then add all of that up, and we get 640 points possible in the course. And so your final grade is pretty simple here. Add up the points that you have earned and divide that by the points possible, and that's how you can calculate your percentage and compare that percentage to the grading scale. Again, noting that we do round up and that you also get 2 free bonus points for that week 1 academic activity quiz, which adds to your point total there. So that's it. That's your grade, right? Pretty straightforward, I should hope here. Other stuff here, attendance. Obviously, an online class doesn't have attendance, but engagement is important, and I just have my comments there on that. So read that. Here's a breakdown a little bit of these assignments in a little more detail that I think is probably relevant here. So as I mentioned, 3 exams. Each one has a timer of 75 minutes for the 50 questions, multiple choice questions. It also requires the Respondus lockdown browser. So this version of the lockdown browser does not use any sort of proctoring or webcam monitoring or anything like that. It simply just locks you in to the browser window for the exam, so that you're not able to switch out of the exam to some other tab or application or anything like that. So you just got to stay locked into your assessment for the time period that you're taking the exam. One thing I want to say about the exam content here, and it's highlighted here. I'm going to highlight it. Exams emphasize material covered in the recorded lectures over textbook material. So what does that mean? That means that I have a whole set of recorded lectures. These are loosely aligned to what's in the book, but I tend to like to say things that are kind of my own thing a lot, right? And I try not to be the kind of person who just like summarizes content in a textbook chapter as a lecture, that is. So it doesn't work for me. So there is some degree of overlap, but there's also a lot of stuff in the book that I might not ever talk about. But there's definitely a lot of stuff in the lectures where I talk about it that might not actually be in the book. So you're going to want to make sure that you make use of those lectures so that you are fully prepared for the exams. But the quizzes are different because the quizzes are using the questions that came with the book. So you should definitely be reading those chapters and using that reading as a basis for answering the questions on these quizzes. The quizzes are a lot less kind of demanding here because there's no timer, there's no lockdown browser. So I would actually kind of encourage you to have the chapter up, pulled up, maybe if you got the ebook especially, and go back and forth switching between the quiz and reading the chapter to find the answer. So read the chapter, try to answer the questions as best you can, but also kind of pause to look things up in the book while you take the quizzes. Also, you get 2 tries and the highest score counts, and there's no timer, like I said. So should be expect to get fairly good scores on these quizzes. And likewise, the discussions here are not meant to be majorly demanding here. You're going to watch the video. Mostly these are TED Talks or TEDx Talks. I think there might be 1 or 2 exceptions to that, but largely that's what these are. And there's a prompt, and it describes here what the prompt generally looks like. So it's a brief summary of the talk, and then your reaction to it. What kind of thoughts and reactions do you have? Do you agree or disagree with things the speaker is saying here? And how is this meaningful to you, maybe in some other kind of real world context here? And you want to make sure you cover all of that, right? Have both a summary and some sort of personal reaction to the content. All right, let's get to the schedule. So even though this is an asynchronous online course, and that means we don't have any pre-scheduled meetings of any sort, just by open office hours, I still have deadlines, and so I still want us to follow a schedule essentially. So you can obviously work ahead a little bit, but only within the constraints of these units. So let's take a look at the first unit. So look at weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. We start with the first 4 chapters. So we've got our introductory week, and then chapter 1 is physical aging, chapter 2 is sensation and perception, and then attention and memory. For each one of those 4 chapters, we have a quiz, right? It's one of those chapter quizzes that's due on the corresponding week. So September 6th is the first quiz that's due. Oh, and by the way, that week 1 academic activity quiz is listed under week 1. I have it set as a deadline of Friday, August 28th at 5 p.m. You want to make sure you get this done during the first week of the semester. It's actually set to stay open for a little bit longer, especially maybe that's useful for anyone who adds the course late. But do everything you can to just get it in by that posted deadline. Now, all of these quizzes, even though they all have due dates listed there, Sunday 9/6, 9/13, 9/20, and 9/27, also we see our first couple of discussions are due during that first unit, discussion 1 on 9/6 and discussion due on 9/27. All of those assignments are released the very first day of the unit, which is also the first day of the semester, August 24th. So what that means is that you can work ahead all throughout this unit, read those chapters, get those quizzes done, watch the lectures, take notes, and be prepared for the exam. The exam, on the other hand, you cannot necessarily work too much ahead on. It's due on the Sunday, October 4th, but it's only going to be available for that week prior to that. So you're going to have a lot of flexibility. You can take it early in that week, or in the middle, or the later in the week. Right, so anytime during that week, obviously, but you have to take it during that week, not sooner. So you can work ahead, but we do have deadlines. But then you can only stick within that unit, right? So you can't work on anything beyond the unit 1 until that exam closes on the 4th of October, and then starting on Monday the 5th, the second unit opens up. And so that means we look here at chapters 5, 6, and 7. We've got quizzes and a couple more discussions on that topic, and then the exam 2 is due on 11/1. So during the course of that 4-week span from week 7 through the end of week 10, again, we have some deadlines, but you can work on all that stuff mostly on your own schedule, working ahead. And then likewise, our final final unit, exam 3, is due at the end of finals week, which is Thursday. So keep that in mind. The way the semester ends is just a little bit weird with the scheduling. So a couple things to point out here. As we go through chapters 8, 9, 10, 11, we have quizzes and our last couple of discussions. The Chapter 11 quiz is due on Thursday, 12/3. So that Thursday is actually the official end of our regular semester before the finals week begins. So we're going to be done, right? We don't want to have any other assignments that have due dates during finals week. It's probably against a rule of some sort. So 12/3 Thursday is a weird deadline for that last quiz, considering all the others are on a Sunday, but that's the way it's going to have to be. I don't want to pick the previous Sunday because we get this whole week of week 14. We get the whole week off for Thanksgiving. So I'm not going to assign any quizzes due during that week. So I'm not going to be that mean, right? So Thursday, 12/3. And then likewise, finals week begins essentially on Friday, 12/4. So that means looking ahead to the next week, Thursday, 12/10, is the due date of exam 3. And like the previous exams, it's going to be open for the week in advance of the deadline. So throughout that week, you'll have the flex time there to figure out when is the best time for you to complete that exam. All right, the rest of this is a pre-built schedule here, automatically generated by the Simple Syllabus tool, and a whole bunch of course policies. A lot of these are automatically added in by UCF, and so you probably see this in all of your syllabi. But read it, of course, and make sure you are familiar with all of those rules. Now let's come back to the home page and we can look at the modules. So what you see here in the Unit 1 module is a lot of the same content now. Chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 were what we had mentioned were the chapters covered in that first unit. So here I have a link to Chapter 1, Physical Aging PowerPoint files that I have made. And here's a link out to my Chapter 1 video. This links out to YouTube. And then also there's the Chapter 1 quiz linked here as well. You can also access quizzes by going to the assignments or quizzes link in the left-hand navigation. And also the video discussions are linked down here at the bottom. Again, you can just go to the discussions link in the navigation toolbar on the left and access those as well. So multiple ways to get at this. And of course, down here, if we keep going, we have the Unit 2 module, which should look basically the same. Sometimes the lectures run a little bit longer, so I break them out into two parts. But again, I have chapters 5, 6, and 7 here with the links to the videos, as well as the quizzes and video discussions, and the second exam there. And then likewise, the Unit 3 module with more PowerPoints and quizzes and lecture videos for those chapters 8 through 11, and 3 more video discussions. The exam 3 is not there. That's curious. I will make sure I add that before we get to the end of the semester. So anyway, other than that little missing link, that's it. That's it. So just let me know if you have any questions. Of course, attend to my office hours and feel free to come into the office hours as you need to. Or, of course, just send me a message in the inbox tool. I didn't mention that when going through the syllabus. Let me open that up real quick. 2 ways to contact me. One is using the inbox tool here in Canvas, but my email address should also be listed somewhere in the syllabus. And yes, that is right there. But I also have somewhere in here a communication policy. Who knows where? Here it is, right? Please use the inbox tool as the primary means of email, right? So basically, if all of my class-related messages stay inside of Canvas and the Canvas inbox, that helps me stay a whole lot more organized. And the more organized I can stay, the faster I am able to reply to these kinds of course messages, right? So my regular UCF inbox gets flooded with stuff all the time. Some of it's class-related and a whole bunch of it is not. And if it all gets all mixed in there together, sometimes emails fall through the cracks and I'm a lot slower to respond. So just use the inbox tool and that'll be that. So anyway, I will go ahead and call it here. And again, let me know if you have questions.